do? It's your boy Zach ZYZ. Let me see what I remember or what I forget on the stream today. So I think YouTube actually works with streaming on this guy, which leads me to believe I can fix it on the other program. So according to Stratum, the chat is ready to display messages. Good to know. Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3. All right, volume sounds okay. Shout out to Aztec in the chat, and let's see if I can pull up that very same chat right here on this iPad so that I can actually see what's happening and get it together. Yes, hello. My name is Zach ZYZ. I'm an author from Brooklyn, New York. New York, as some would call it there. Y'all all know who I am. Ain't nobody new in this chat at the moment. Oh shit, it's Jordan O. Jordan Olivo. All right there. What do we got going on? So yeah, this is the continuing quest. I think there's a very real chance that we could hit 100 pages today. So when we started this shit, we had edited 0 pages, and very soon we could have edited 100 pages. And that's a fucking cause for celebration right here. So yeah, you can. The nice thing about this stream is that you're free to contribute. I take your edits and stuff like that very seriously. I was not brushing my teeth, by the way. Yeah, it's fucking roommate. It's playing some kind of white noise machine or something like that. It's driving me crazy, man. I don't like that he's broadcasting into the old studio. Don't like it one goddamn bit, but I don't know. We're going to see what happens on that front. All right, so today I'm going to be drinking this. It purports to be Super Lost cold brew from Colombia. I don't think I can make it so that it's not fucking with the green screen right there. But it's just like a tiny little 8-ounce thing. It's by Super Lost Coffee and some coconut water. So I'm always fucking dehydrated by that. Yeah, we're going to have a vacancy at Casa Load real soon, would be my estimation of the situation. But, it is what it is and ain't what it ain't. We got a show last night, went relatively well. I heard some good news from some people involved in that. So, Stratum got a white noise machine, which was the best noise. I just have a fan going myself. I like to have airflow while it's happening. So I have both a fan and a humidifier. Yeah, I keep one around, but I'm about to be done with it right there. Yeah, in New York, generally, like if you're not married, you typically will have like some kind of flatmate or roommate or something like that. The rent is just preposterous. All right, so I like that this is in like a potion bottle right here. I'm gonna take a sip of the three-wheel motion and turned on the potion. Now I'm gonna take a sip of the potion. Yeah, relatively strong and acidic there. It's all right. I'm gonna go out for more coffee after when we take our first break and get myself an almond croissant because it's that kind of day. So yeah, the show went okay yesterday. We didn't have Young Meep around, but he's got a lot going on at the moment. And I see Big Jira in the chat right there. Hell yeah, I like Jira so much better than that fucking ticketing system. Fuck Confluence, suck a dick. I told myself I was going to try and swear less on the stream. It's not going super well for the kid right there today. So what do we have? Yesterday we had our first visit to Dr. Garbuglio, the psychiatrist. Today, Lauren only knows what we're going to have. We're now at the point of the book where I can't remember what I wrote. Like I only remember the really interesting parts and like all the chapters in between that are leading up and establishing and so forth. I can't remember much of anything. But yeah, shout outs to people coming through on Twitch, on DLive, on YouTube. I think I'm on Mixer and Facebook and Donner and Dixon and Nixon and Hitler and all the reindeer. Shout outs to Hitler, the Reich. What is it, like the Reichstag reindeer? Ugh. Lord have mercy on me, boys. Well, let's get down to it. So this is chapter 14. God, what would you fuck off, iTunes? I'm a little Like, pay attention to me. Meh, 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 meh. Don't ask me again, you whore. So shout outs to Aztec right there, who was digging this. Yeah, this is going to be a much more, less attention intensive stream or whatever. So literally, this is a stream to just put on in the background and hear me rattling on whilst you're, I don't know, assembling a pipe bomb or something like that. Let's get to it. So in the story thus far, somebody let Eraser know that, oh yeah, we were missing Eraser too. My kid had his girl over too. Oh, hope she isn't preggo now. Nice, Eraser. Well, good for him if she is. You know, somebody should be perpetuating the species. But yeah, somebody tell Eraser that this shit is on like the Quran. But let's hop to it. So thus far in the story, very brief summary. As you remember, Freya Jokla, we found her. She's getting bullied at it and did not shoot up her school. She got her ass kicked and laid down on the ground, and everybody came and found her lying in the rain. They dragged her to the principal's office where her mother was summoned. Her mother beat the ever-living piss out of the other girl's mother. Hell yeah. Shots of family values. And then her mother got thrown in jail. Later, she had to bail her mother out of jail. And then while she was eating at a Taco Time restaurant, this girl came up and threw a rock through the window and shattered it. So somewhere along the way, she attempted suicide by drowning herself in a river. And she was thwarted midway through her attempt when a meteorite crashed down into a sandbar. And she found the meteorite, dragged it back home. She's very interested in astronomy, not astrology, astronomy. So yeah, the meteorite is right up her alley. And when she dragged it back home to examine it, it's a meteorite about the size of a softball or regulation baseball or whatever the hell. I've got it written as one or the other. It cracked open, and the number one dad eraser. Oh God, no, we can't have any more number one dads. The meteorite cracked open, revealing a purple orb. Hell yeah! Oh shit, we got eraser. Eraser's wondering why we got the Noddle editing stream. Yeah, we've been doing this every day. This is our 9th day. Tomorrow will be the 10th day. So yeah, if you know anybody who would enjoy learning a little bit more about the editing process or writing, or who just needs to have a very gay man read them very straight tales. Well, actually, I don't know how straight this tale is. I can't remember what all I put into it. Put them in. All right, so let's hop to it there. Chapter 14. What's my note here? So the note is that the Renanin, or Ziz, is a rock-like bird from Jewish mythology called the Celestial Singer. That'll all become more important here. So Willow Road is the name that we established for this guy here. I'm not sure that Willow Road is what we want to call it. But yeah, I guess now would be the time. One of the famous American poets. So we got Dickinson Road, we got Whitman Road, we got Frost Road, Plath Road, Hughes Road, Cummings Road, Elliott Road. Oh, I like the idea of Elliott Road. Who else? Also, I like T.S. Eliot. He's a real one. Here's Waldo. Big Hayden. Bukowski. Oh, he died in 94. I didn't know that. Oh, I did like Anne Sexton. Look at Shel Silverstein's picture. That's amazing. Now I'm trying to find something that that is A.R. Almonds. Oh, I didn't realize Kerouac died so early. Holy shit. I have never read anything by Hart Crane. Huh. Old Creeley. Let's hear that vowels of another intriguing novel. Nice. Yeah, let me get right to it. So yeah, Shel Silverstein was a fucking real one right there. Carl Sandburg. I mean, we shouldn't just limit ourselves to... What was the one that... let's call it Elliott Road. I like the sound of that. And let's do a... all right, avert your eyes. Well, we'll just change it as we want to. So yeah, her road is now Elliott Road. The trees whip out the window. Oh, that sounds awful. Because I left out the article. The trees whipped by out the window as the car shot down Elliott Road. They passed. Let's see the. All right, hold on. It's getting hot in here. There we go. Now I can think straight. Faltering trees whipped past the BMW as it shot down Elliott Road. They passed the entrance to the Silas River Park where Freya had almost drowned, and she couldn't help but turn to look. Lassa caught her stare for a moment and then turned her eyes back to the road. For a terrible instant, Freya was afraid Leia... Weird. Oh yeah, shoutouts to Syria Ovenhead Plath. Yeah, she's a fucking real one, man. I actually really enjoyed that old bell jar. We'll throw Plath in there somewhere. Another super suicidal poetess there. Faltering trees whipped past the BMW as it shot down Elliott Road. They passed the entrance to the Silas River Park where Freya had almost drowned and she couldn't help but turn to look. Lassa caught her stare for a moment, then she turned her eyes back to the road. For a terrible instant, I think moment is better than instant. For a terrible moment, Freya was afraid Lassa had found out somewhere how. Her hand slipped into her pocket and closed on the star ball. Her hand slipped into her pocket and closed on the star ball for reassurance. There we go. Yeah. What smoke an ounce to this? It was just a stupid thought. Of course Lassa didn't know. They hadn't even spoken today. Lassa had just held up the car keys when it was time to go. Her eyes were a little bleary and hungover, and Freya could tell she was ready for a fight, maybe even wanted one. Her mother's eyes were a little bleary and hungover. Freya could tell she was ready for a fight, maybe even wanted one. Freya had simply gone to the car, gotten in the front seat, and buckled the seatbelt. The time to do something about this had been last night, when Lassa was out on her date. Freya had gotten her suitcase out of the closet and laid it open on the bed, with all the money and her passport. I don't think it laid. Fucking lay. Why are these words? I think the... Let's just do laid. That's what editors are for. No, I'm the editor. This is lay. All right, maybe we can figure this out once and for all. Lay is the present tense of a verb whose basic meaning is to place something in a horizontal position, with the past tense in participle, laid. Okay, cool. So laid is right. That's what we fucking want. No, that's not what we want. There we go. She had gotten Freya had gotten her suitcase out of the closet and laid it open on the bed, with all her money and her passport. Her phone said it was $900 to Paris, and she'd hovered over the book button for a long time, willing herself to press it. Then she had that weird... Mm-hmm. As she had hesitated, she felt an increasing sense of nausea. Next came the clawing feeling behind her left eye that heralded a migraine, both seemingly out of nowhere. She'd felt lousy before, but it was just the normal amount of awful. This had to be psychosomatic. Mm. So look at that. Just like Jesus, we've transmuted came into come. We're the master of space and time. Mm-hmm. So the time to do something about this had been last night, when Lasso was out on our date. Freya had gotten her suitcase out of the closet and laid it open on the bed, with all her money and her passport. Her phone said it was $900 to Paris. She'd hovered over the book button for a long time, willing herself to press it. As she'd hesitated, as she'd hesitated, Freya felt increasingly nauseous. As Freya hesitated, she'd felt increasingly nauseous. Next had come the clawing feeling behind her left eye that heralded a migraine. She'd felt lousy before, but just the normal amount of awful. This had to be psychosomatic. This prose seems awfully cliched. And then Miss asking, oh yeah, why don't you elaborate on how it feels cliched? Nigga, we know you clowning. Get the fuck out of here. Heralded a migraine. She felt lousy before, but just the normal amount of awful. This new sudden sickness had to be psychosomatic. Her gut wasn't wrong. She had nowhere to go in France, nowhere to stay. She couldn't work there. Her money would run out, and then what? She'd be right back here, and things would be worse than before. Freya. She had put the suitcase away, slipped the passport back into her desk, and erased the history on her phone. Then she took the Lunesta. Hell yeah. Describe Freya's PP. Yeah, I'd say at this point in the story, non-existent, but who knows what crazy shit is going to happen. You know, it's a science fiction story. Maybe everybody gets a big honking horse dick. But I doubt it. It's just between you and me. I don't want to lead you on to think that this is something it ain't. Her gut wasn't wrong. She would be right back here, and things would be worse than before. She had put the suitcase away, slipped the passport back into her desk, and erased the history on her phone. Then she took the Lunesta. Now they were... So this is a really common fuck-up that I do when I'm writing. So Stratum feels that took a Lunesta would feel better. I guess because of the like implication that she's like taking the entire bottle or something like that, or taking some Lunesta. But there is a gravity to saying, then she took the Lunesta. That then she took a Lunesta. It's not, they don't track, then she took some Lunesta. We, in this case, we definitely want the to be our definite article there, just because of the gravity that I can put on it while I'm reading it. Because I want it to be clear to the reader that the Lunesta is this escape that she is going for over and over and over again. So it doesn't have to sound reasonable. And because in a prior chapter, we've established you can't take the entire bottle of Lunesta. It just won't fucking do anything. We don't have to worry so much about the reader wondering, oh, is she taking the whole fucking bottle? That's my theory. But I'm gonna... Okay, and I can see that that was like manually tabbed instead of whatever. So I'll tell you one thing that I wind up doing a lot in my stories is I'll start writing a present tense thing, and then we'll lapse into what is it, like when you have to use well, we like lapse into this. So present past tense, like past tense, which is the current time, what's actually happened, described in past tense, and then we had to go into what is the name of the tense that includes had, right there. I think that's past participle or something. Past perfect tense. Yeah, so we like frequently throughout this book, you'll see me lapsing like past tense, then lapse into past perfect, and have to explain shit, and it's really awkward. I don't like that I do this in books, but it's also relatively difficult to fix. Like past perfect is like, so like often I'll fall into this pattern to do that. So uh, Aztec is saying that it's a super common thing. Yeah, I think it's like it's a very human response or whatever. So I'm seeing some red drops on OBS there. We probably should have rebooted this unit before we started streaming today. If it becomes untenable, like if we're dropping like a lot of frames or the audio is fucking up or something like that, let me know and we'll restart the machine and I'll go get some more coffee. Even though I have a lot of this potion left. As I'm planning to do a fair bit of. So Essex says, don't even worry about it. Well, it's okay to have that happen occasionally or whatever, but I think we may find that like a quarter of our chapters do something like that. And definitely you don't ever want to have like a rhythm, right? Where people can guess the structure immediately when they start a chapter because it just throws them out of the story. So that's one of the things that we'll have to gander at as we're going through this, just with an eye cognizant if we are falling into that trap of past perfect. That's not perfect, so we might work on that there. This chapter is like a real example of it, and I think in general there'll be the chapters that are weaker in general because I like started that chapter and didn't have like a good fucking idea of where I wanted to go. So I'm like, oh, how did we get here? And then explain it and whatever there. But that said, let's get back to this chapter. It's just something that we're going to keep an eye on throughout that. And, I'm not especially an expert enough to know how right or how wrong that is. It's just something that I've noticed and it feels slightly wrong to me. But yeah, I like the idea of her like thinking about packing up a suitcase here. And this is a critical chapter right here. This was added in later, right? This is a retcon where she becomes increasingly nauseous and she has like this sickness that she feels is psychosomatic there. Now they were pulling up into the strip mall near Grayson. Okay, and so we have the name of that bookstore. Let's search for bookstore. So that's something that we named previous. Oh, what the fuck did we name that bookstore? We've got to go all the way back to Centros. Yeah, there we go. Blackwater Books is the name of that. Short walk down the hill to Bridge Street is now going to become Thoreau Street. And then Blackwater Books. I like that. Okay, so let's go back to So this can be like a Pokemon chapter because she's going to a gym. Oh, shout out to Jigsaw 64, the proud owner of a immaculate Camry and the strangler of most of the transsexuals that were murdered in Toronto last year. Big Jigsaw up in this motherfucker. Let me see here. Where were we? Street. Now they were pulling. Now she was stuck. Lasso was pulling into a strip mall on Thoreau Street, not far from Grayson High School. Well, she wouldn't call it Grayson High School in her mind, because it's just Grayson. The gym was sandwiched between Blackwater Books, where she... yeah, we don't need to... The gym was sandwiched in between Blackwater Books and Bella Reina Pizza. I think that's Reina. Bella Reina Pizza. Renanin Krav Maga was written on the door in golden faux Hebrew letters. Above it was an image of a giant bird clutching the world in its talons, with its head thrown back as if it were screaming at the ceiling. There were two older boys standing outside the door talking with a man with long gray hair who made a lot of emphatic gestures as he spoke. Freya knew the man had to be Vitko. Renanin was his gym. For a moment, both boys turned to the car and gawked at Freya. Okay, so one thing that we have to do in this chapter, the fact that she has a significant black eye and is all scuffed up, should be remarked upon. Especially, she didn't escape that river without like a bunch of scratches and shit like that. And in workout gear, they should all be more apparent. The missing toenails thing should be possibly put in here. Let me see. Oh, shout outs to, hey Chad, how are you doing here? So this is a live editing stream. I'm working on my 8th novel. This is Gravid, which is set in Maine. It concerns grief and telepathy. And yeah, we're doing a live editing stream. So if you see like a missing comma or like 5 straight pages where it's just nonstop fucking and sucking, you can comment on it and we can fix that or add more of that, whatever you prefer. But yeah, we do this every morning, and it's either this or you can watch fucking lo-fi beats to relax and study to, or watch the fucking impeachment or Brexit or whatever else, I guess. But this is a step above paint drying. Although I'm soon going to launch my own watch paint drying stream, so then you'll have a choice in the matter. Real talk. All right, so it looks like our streaming is still going good. And Chad Farthouse is just a retarded meme from IRC, so don't even worry about that. He's not talking about you. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot better. Hmm. Yeah, why are these all these guys have been tabbed wrong? Uh yeah, it's above the writing on the door. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay. Renan and Crab Maga was written on the door in golden faux Hebrew letters. Above them, so just by changing it to them, we know that we're talking about the letters right there. So part of the reason why it tracked wrong is it's conjugated incorrectly. Wait, it's not a fucking verb, so it's not conjugated. But anyway, you get what I'm saying there. Above them fixes that problem, and it doesn't force us to expend extra unnecessary words explaining what's there. So very good note there, because that was absolutely like a little bit of a pain point in that sentence. Good job, Big Stratum. Hell yeah, book is getting better. Every one of these changes that we make here improves the quality of the book. And like I'm always saying this, but I feel like the book is already, the chapters that we worked on, like maybe 15-20% better than it was before we got to it. And there are not a lot of creative projects where you're going to see that much improvement in like one pass, right? With music, it's so much more subjective whether you've made like real and lasting improvements, because like it's harder to have something be just like straight up correct in music, but absolutely here, like this is much closer to correct and like approachable to the things. So it's like one of the things I'm really enjoying about this process. Every day we get out here and we're a little bit better. So it's like working out or something. I don't know. Ah, open door, stupid. They got out of the BMW and approached. Both boys were Okay, that's a little bit better. They got out of the BMW and approached. Freya recognized both boys from Grayson. The boy closest to Vitko was clocking Freya and Dan as they walked up, until Vitko clapped him in the back of the head. Better, much better. Open door, stupid, he demanded. So if we want to do open door, we would have to get somebody who knows enough Hebrew to figure out if that's actually a verb that they would, or that if that's actually an article that they would neglect. Probably not the case. It's just open the door, stupid, he demanded, and Dan complied at once. Dan didn't seem too upset about getting bopped. He didn't seem too upset about getting bopped. Mm. Yeah, I was waiting for the first person to realize that where the origin of Dan Gregulus. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Open the door, stupid, he demanded, and Dan complied at once. He didn't seem too upset about getting bopped. Freya recognized both Dan Gregulus and Cameron Kowalski. They were both seniors who ran track. Cameron had light hair and blue eyes. Dan's were chestnut and green. They were best friends. Freya knew both of them because Jane Yang, we should have Yang there. Because Jane Yang had a huge crush on Dan. She was always pointing him out. Cameron's mother was a policewoman. She'd sent over a really nice card and a tin of homemade cookies when Randall died. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like every fucking paragraph here is the wrong spacing. We gotta fix every one. Hello, Mrs. Jokla. Hello, Freya. Welcome, welcome. Come inside, please. Vicko was in flowing pants that were elastic at the ankles. He was very tan and wore a Gracie Jujitsu. Okay, so that I'm just reading that wrong. Hello, Mrs. Jokla. Hello, Freya. Welcome, welcome. Come inside, please. Vicko was in flowing pants that were elastic at the ankles. He was very tanned. He wore a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu suit, and there wasn't an ounce of fat on his body. He reminded Freya of the Fremen from Dune. Hell yeah. Shoutouts to the Sand People. That's not meant to be anti-Semitic, by the way. The Fremen are fucking dope. I think in the story, actually, Vitko is like Czech or something like that. What's the origin? I can't remember his last name. He might be straight Israeli. We'll get into it. But Freya walked through the door, feeling a sinking certainty she would be the only girl in the class. Inside was the smell of gym pads and sweat. How could Lassa do this to her? She clenched her jaw, the same way Lassa did everything else. She didn't care what Freya wanted, if she was uncomfortable or unhappy. She only did what she thought was right. Welcome to Renanin. It's okay. Okay. Freya walked through the door, feeling a sinking certainty she would be the only girl in the class. Inside was the smell of gym pads and sweat. So it's not fetid, but let's take a look, right? Because I want maybe funky. Mm. Yeah, so there are only 3 people there. So that's already it's a good point. There, Stratum. That's already on my radar to fix right there. But yeah, I like immediately looked at that and I realized that we hadn't described the class at all. So that's on the agenda right there. Freya walked through the door, feeling a sinking certainty she would be the only girl in class. Gym pad funk and dank sweat jabbed her in the nose immediately. She felt her stomach churn. I like that. I hear like a jab in the nose. She clenched her teeth. Freya walked through the door, feeling a sinking certainty she would be the only girl in class. Before she even stepped inside, she was assaulted by gym pad funk and sweat. It hit her like a jab in the nose. How could Lassa do this to her? She clenched her teeth. The same way Lassa did everything. She didn't care what Freya wanted, if she was uncomfortable or if she was unhappy. Okay. The commas are in the wrong places. How could Lassa do this to her? Freya clenched her teeth. Freya walked through the door. No, okay, we expended our Freya budget. Before she even stepped inside, she was assaulted by gym pad funk and sweat. Freya moved to obey. See, obey is like a little too. So she's been ordered. Uh, Freya followed his order, feeling a sinking certainty she would be the only girl in class. Before she even crossed the, what works better there? Stepped inside or crossed the threshold? I think like cross the threshold is unnecessarily wordy. Before she even stepped inside, she was assaulted by gym pad funk and sweat. Can I get away? She was assaulted by a miasma of gym pad funk and sweat. It hit her like a jab in the nose. I like that. That's like that's a little wordy. No, she's too high to comply. She can't. uh, Although actually, no. I want order. It's kind of like a. It's more of an invitation. Yeah, it's an invitation. No, if she follows him in, she's getting like a whiff of him rather than Freya complied with Victo, feeling a oh, there we go. Yeah, comply is better. Good job, Spathiwa. Freya complied with Victo, feeling a sinking certainty she would be the only girl in class. Before she even stepped inside, she was assaulted by a miasma of gym pad funk and sweat. It hit her like a jab in the nose. How could Lassa do this to her? She clenched her teeth, the same way Lassa did everything. She didn't care what Freya wanted, didn't care if she was uncomfortable or unhappy. Hmm. So I don't really like this. No, I like that better. She clenched her teeth. How could Lassa do this to her? Hmm. She tried to breathe through her mouth. How could Lassa do this to her? The same way Lassa did everything, unilaterally. She didn't care what Freya wanted. Didn't care if she was Oh, I like that so much better. Yeah, we can just I love when a sentence is like much better if you just cut some bullshit out. Like you're just trying to say something too many ways and you just isolate the core of the argument right there. That's dope. So let's see. Freya complied with Vitko, feeling a sinking certainty she would be the only girl in class. Before she even stepped inside, she was assaulted by a miasma of gym pad funk and sweat. It hit her like a jab. Before she even stepped inside, she was assaulted by a miasma of gym pad funk and sweat that hit her like a jab in the nose. Gym pad funk. That sounds like a dope house track. I would fucking bob my head to gym pad funk. Uh, I think jungle comes up somewhere in the book. Fucking love jungle. I don't care if it's not popular. Um, Freya compli You know, honestly, I should go out fucking techno dancing. I've been meaning to do that for a while. Maybe I'll see what's up tonight. But Freya complied with Vitko, feeling a sinking certainty she would be the only girl in class. Before she even stepped inside, she was assaulted by a miasma of gym pad funk that hit her like a jab in the nose. She tried to breathe through her mouth. How could Lassa do this to her? The same way Lassa did everything, unilaterally. She didn't care what Freya wanted. Hell yeah. It's a better paragraph. Welcome to Renanin. Leave your shoes on. Freya was bending to remove her sneakers. She thought that was what you were supposed to do when you went into a dojo or whatever. When you are using Krav Maga, you will most likely be wearing shoes, so training is also in shoes. Do not worry about the floor. The mats are tough. Freya nodded okay. This is actually a good thing. People wouldn't see her bandaged toes. She felt like everyone... Hmm? Yeah, I think it's actually we've already established that she doesn't want to be here. We don't need that we don't need that sentence. She has a mouth guard? Vitko asked, and Lassa shook her head. Oh yeah, I don't like this I can't say that she forked it over, but I want to. Um, Mouth guard is Freya about to. This is Krav Maga. They don't fuck around. She should really react to mouth guard. So I want her to do. Not a problem. They are $10. Lassa produced a crisp bill from her wallet. Oh, did I already? I already did the mouth guard thing already. Yeah, I couldn't even. She's about to go Eddie Gordo on some random. Eddie Gordo uses capoeira, not Krav Maga. I don't want to. It would be so retarded if she was going to capoeira class and they just tried to employ it in like fights and she just got her ass beat nonstop. uh, uh, wait, Linux is. Wait, how did he get timed out? Did he try to say Linux? I don't know what word or does it have a timeout on fuck? I don't know. Let me know when you can chat again. I need to turn off all the timeouts. Um, I don't know why they're there. Oh, does it time you out for like a second when you say fuck? Lord have mercy. Hold on, I gotta get serious. This is a oh, all these fucking. Wait, what is? No, these are all wrong. All right, hold on. I'm just gonna make sure we're gonna go to the back of the chapter, right here. Don't spoil your chapter, but all these need to be in 0.25. So we're indenting 0.25. It is really a question of what the people that want your manuscript want. I like 0.25 indenting better, but if you are preparing a manuscript yourself, whatever company you're trying to sell it to will generally have a style guide for how they want it. There's also like sort of a uniformly accepted speculative fiction manuscript writing guide that you can find if you Google it. But definitely everything should be double spaced, which is what you see here. And you almost always want things to be double spaced while you're working on it. It really is a lot easier. And then your paragraph should be indented. And generally, you don't have to do the thing that I do where you don't indent the first paragraph. That's completely optional. And it actually takes a fair amount of time and bandwidth to do it. You wouldn't think so, but if you're working on 100 fucking chapters. Oh, speaking of which, it's page 99. It's a countdown to 100 right here. I'll pick you up at 9. Boom, 100 pages. So as soon as we start editing here, although really we should go to 101 because I think the first page is just actually 102 because I think pages 1 and 2 are the epigraph. Hold on, let's check. I want to see. So yeah, so page 1 and the epigraph are there. So we need to get to page 102 before we can rightfully celebrate. It's not. Yeah, look at the pages fucking flying by. It's not there. Okay. Okay, have fun, she told Freya, ignoring her seething glare. Hmm. Okay. Okay, have fun, she told Freya. Lassa instructed Freya, ignoring her seething glare. I'll pick you up at 9. She drove off and left Freya behind. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She took a deep breath and immediately regretted it. There was a little table on the right side of the gym with a coffee pot and an electric kettle. Vitko flicked the switch on the kettle and then filled a styrofoam cup with water from a water cooler beside the table. Uh, There was a little table on the right side of the gym next to the water cooler. On it were a coffee pot and an electric kettle. Vitko flicked the switch on the kettle, then filled a styrofoam cup with water. Vitko flicked the switch on the kettle. Oh shit, that was all. Okay, so there was a little table on the right side of the gym next to the water cooler. On it were a coffee pot and an electric kettle. Vitko first flicked the switch on the kettle base, then he took the pot and filled it from the cooler. While the water was boiling, he took the mouthguard out of the packaging. Freya filled it from the cooler and set it on the base. While the water was boiling, he took the mouthguard out of the packaging. Freya noticed how all the steps of what he was doing fit together, so that he was always doing something. He had done this many times. When the water was ready, he poured it into the empty cup, then dropped the mouthguard into it. He counted to 30 aloud, and then with a plastic fork he took the mouthguard out and put it in the cold water, and then he counted to 3. counted to 30 aloud as he was filling another cup from the cooler. Then with a plastic fork. Then with a fork, he took the mouthguard out and put it in the cold water. Then he counted to 3. Okay, take that and bite into it. Bite hard, then hold your bite. Okay, take that and bite into it. Bite down hard, then hold, he said, pointing to the mouthguard. She was a little worried it would still be hot and burn her mouth, but he seemed to know what he was doing. The plastic had a strange, squeaky feel as it molded against her teeth. With a Sharpie, he was writing Freya on the white plastic case that came with the mouthguard. He was left-handed. Hell yeah. Shout out to being left-handed, sinister motherfuckers. What do we got here? She was a little worried it would still be hot and burn her mouth, but he seemed to know what he was doing. The plastic had a strange, squeaky feel as it molded against her teeth. It was a weird feeling, but not unpleasant. I'm a lefty. It's a disability that makes us stronger. Yeah, man. World would not be the same without you lefties. I'm just putting it out there. All right, hold up. I see Kim from the fucking hip hop Discord over there. So let me. I'm actually going to pause for a second and see what Kim has to say, because Kim is a real one. Okay. So Kim said, I've been editing markdown files for the last 10 days. The last thing I want to do on God's gay earth is watch you edit. So thanks, Kim. So yeah, I'm like right-handed, but I think I'm like a little less dominant with the right hand than most people. I have a pretty decent amount of functionality. Like I can write relatively legibly with my left hand, and like I'll definitely pull the switch while I'm yanking it. So I don't know. That's like halfway to ambidextrous right there. I'm not really super ambidextrous. Huh. Hold up. What? Oh, I was getting a 4G interference in the headphones there. Hopefully that wasn't coming through on the microphone. Because if that's the case, then I got to do more shielding. Hold on, let me listen. Check. Okay, yeah, it's not too bad. Oh yeah, we're definitely getting a ground loop somewhere in there. So they're saying it didn't come through in the audio. Yeah, so let me hold on. Check 1, 2. Let me find the source of this interference. Yeah, I hear it a little. Well, it's just something that I can hear, but not, y'all might. Maybe it just got quiet here. Yeah, maybe just the fucking sound machine just finally turned off or something like that. We'll see. But yeah, as long as it's not bugging you guys, we can continue. So what do we got here? And let me remove this guy. And yeah, ground loops are fun, like looking for the culprit through 100 pieces of equipment that you got Check 1, 2. That was it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so just the unterminated lightning connector was enough to create like a minor hum. Real talk. So this is so essentially, if you have audio equipment like floating around your house or whatever, and this was much more of a thing back in the area of like 2G and 3G, but it's still a factor. If you have a cell phone that's close to a cable that's not shielded enough, you will hear you'll hear some of the transmission pulses coming through in your audio. Ground loops are a whole different thing, but it's just there are various different hums and shit like that you can find coming through in audio setups. So yeah, like this is like a really common factor in any kind of audio setup. Stratum knows what the fuck I'm talking about. He's had to deal with every fucking second of this in his entire life. But okay, what do we have here? She was a little worried it would still be hot and burn her mouth, but Vico seemed to know what he was doing. Vico seemed to know what he was doing. She put the glob of plastic in her mouth. It was weird, but not unpleasant. Oh yeah, I'm definitely hearing something in the background. There. Okay. Oh, great. Yeah, as soon as I start hearing that, I then have to spend like an hour fucking redoing connections and everything and figuring out where the interference is coming in from. So shout outs to me. I really enjoy that prospect. But so impulse filters said I've never had to do the mouthpiece thing. I've never done it either. I'm just guessing here. I think, well, I must have done something while I was boxing. I just don't remember doing it this way. Determine whether it was in fact hot. She took the warm plastic glob and bit down. There we go. Mm-hmm. So this is like a weird scene right there, only for like a hot second. Impulse filters. I got my ass kicked by like one kid like half my size that was like a Golden Gloves, and I was like, this is fucking horseshit. Also, if you spend any amount of time boxing, you will soon find that boxing and writing are completely incompatible. All right, there's a reason why Hemingway sounds like a retard later in his career. And it's not just because of the brain damage he suffered in the plane crash in Kilimanjaro. It's just, heavy drinking, getting punched in the fucking head. These are things that you cannot do if you want to be a writer. IMO. Plenty of people will fucking do it anyway, but they're wrong. Okay, she was a little worried it was... she was worried it was... there we go. Freya was worried it would still be too hot and burn her mouth, but Vico seemed to know what he was doing. She took the warm plastic glob and bit down on it. It was weird, but not unpleasant. The plastic had a strange, squeaky feel as it molded against her teeth. With a Sharpie, Vico was writing Freya. Vico was writing Freya. With a Sharpie. Okay, Vico was writing Freya on the white plastic case that came with the mouthguard and with a Sharpie. He was left-handed. After practice, always clean your mouthguard at home. Use a toothbrush and toothpaste. Rinse well. If you forget your mouthguard, that's $10. After practice, always clean your mouthguard at home. Use a toothbrush and toothpaste. Use toothbrush and toothpaste. Rinse well. You forget your mouthguard, that's $10. Don't forget. Do not forget. I won't forget, Freya agreed. Am I going to get hit in the mouth a lot? Ha! Not on purpose. The mouthguard is cheap. Dentist is expensive. Training here is painful. We take many small pains, so when the time comes, you can avoid the big one. Vitko held up a finger and then started. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. But not but. Hemingway, though. Yeah, it's fucking. I like a lot of Hemingway shit. The Old Man and the Sea is fucking dope. And one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time is To Have and to Have Not, which is based on, or maybe it's To Have and, yeah, I think it's To Have and to Have Not, which is based on one of his books. I was never huge on The Sun Also Rises, but and I like some of his short stories are pretty cool. So yeah, not trying to take anything. The guy's much more successful than I am. Probably a better writer than I will ever be. But we'll fucking see. I haven't given up the ghost yet. After practice, always clean your mouth guard at home. Use toothbrush and toothpaste. Rinse well. You forget your mouth guard, that's $10. Do not forget. If you forget your mouth guard, that's $10. Do not forget. I won't forget. Freya agreed. I won't forget, Freya agreed. Am I going to get hit in the mouth a lot? Ha! Not on purpose. But a mouthguard is cheap. A dentist is expensive. Training here is painful. We take many small pains, so when the time comes, you can avoid the big one. Vitko held up a finger and then started under his right jaw and traced the line of a scar that ran diagonally down his neck to beneath the collar of his shirt. And then he tapped his eye, mirroring her own black eye. Oh, God. For a moment, everything seemed like it was rushing away from her, and she was about to pass out. Her ears were pounding. Her heart was beating so hard, and it felt like everything was going to break loose. That scar. Vitko didn't seem to know she was upset. You were 16, no? When I was 16, I got this in Lodz, over a game of football. I lost so much blood they said an angel must have saved me. That was when I began to study fighting. In case the angel was busy next time. You wrote but not twice, describing the feeling of the mouth guard. Yep. But not. Yep. Repetition. It was weird but not unpleasant. The plastic had a strange squeaky feel as it molded against her teeth. Vitko was writing blah blah blah. Okay, cool. That's a good note. Thank you for that catch. Yeah, I need to like award fucking points or something like that for people who make these catches. So yeah, Stratum. Well, let's get a plus bot in here, and then Stratum plus for yeah. We're all right. So that's what we're gonna do. I will set up a chat bot if it's possible to do so within the confines of like Twitch or whatever, and we'll add karma ranking to it so that I can give karma ranking for good suggestions, and we'll get like a leaderboard or something like that. That'll be my project for the weekend. But Vitko didn't seem to notice she was upset. You were 16, no? I was 16 when I got this. It was in Lodz, over a game of football. Shoutouts to in Lodz. How do you pronounce that? How to pronounce Lodz? Oh, I forgot. I can't fucking hear what comes through here. It's annoying. I could make it so that you could hear what comes through here, honestly. Well, no, I still wouldn't hear it. Okay. Here, hold on. Let's ask the Oracle. Should ask to realpronunciation.com. Woods? Woods? Are you fucking serious? That can't be fucking right. Hold on. Woods. That sounds so fucking wrong. Woods. No. Woods. Wooch. Wooch. Like plods? Yeah, I thought it was like plods too. Wooch. Let me see what these comments say. Wooch. 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 That's kind of cool. Yeah, dope fucking name. Way to go, you crazy Poles. So apparently he's Polish too. Wooch. It is in Wooch. And also let's get the correct fucking. God, look at all these accent marks in this motherfucker. In Wooch, over a game of football, I lost so much blood they said an angel must have saved me. That was when I began to study fighting. In case the angel was busy next time, Vitko grinned. Freya realized Vitko didn't know about Randall. She thought he was just creeped out by... Freya realized Vitko didn't know about Randall. She swallowed and tried to get through this. Now tell me, how did you get this? Again, he tapped on his eye. She told him the story. Lay on the ground, not so good. Could have gone very bad. What weapon could have saved you there? We're not allowed to have weapons at school. Ah, this is not true. I will show you how to defend in a situation next time. Are you ready? Freya put the mouthguard in and nodded. Okay, again he tapped his eye. She told him the story. Lay on the ground, not so good. Could have gone very bad for you. What weapon could have saved you there? Woots. We're not allowed to have weapons at school, Freya explained. Ah, this is true. No. Ah, this is not true. I will show you how to defend in the situation next time. Are you ready? Freya put the mouthguard. She... Mm-hmm. Okay, so good. So she's not trying to talk through the mouthguard. Freya put the mouthguard in and nodded. Help! 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 Vitko yelled, so loud she was stunned. Then he began to run away from her, running around the gym, screaming his lungs out. Help! She took her mouthguard out. Dan and the other boy ran into the gym, both grinning. Okay, so here, let me see... Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is their like heart to heart here. I wonder how long they're actually spending in this conversation. Because she must have gotten to class early. Yeah, let's add a note there. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that change. Whoosh. When the water is ready, I won't forget. Freya agreed. Am I going to get hit in the mouth a lot? Yes, yes, you will. Get whomped. Freya put the mouthguard in and nodded, embracing herself to get slammed on the mat. Help! 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 Vitko yelled, so loud she was stunned. Then he began to run away from her, running around the gym, screaming his lungs out. Help! She took her mouthguard out. Dan and Cameron ran into the gym, both grinning. Very slow help. I could be dead by now, Vitko yelled. All of you, time to run. You too, new student. Everyone runs. It was all so ridiculous. She had no choice to join them running laps around the gym. The four of them just ran in circles until she felt like she was going to throw up. It was all so ridiculous. She had no choice but to join them running laps around the gym. They ran in circles until she began to worry she would throw up, but she kept pushing. She didn't want to be the first to stop. Finally, Vitko came to a halt and held up a hand. Okay. She didn't want to be the first to complain. Finally, Vitko came to a stop and held up a hand. Dan and Cameron halted at once. They barely seemed winded, but Freya had to put her hands on her knees and wait for the room to stop spinning. She felt completely out of her league. You see? This one is a good one. You see? She's a good one. Already trying hard. Finnish people, very tough. Winter war. Read about it. I talked to her mother. She is a lion. Woman's... Already trying hard. Finnish people are very tough. The Winter War. Read about it. Finnish people are very tough. Winter War. Read about it. I talked to her mother. She's a lion. You see? She's a good one, I can tell. Already trying hard. Finnish people are very tough. The Winter War. Read about it. The Winter War. Read about it. I talked to her mother. A woman slapped her while she was handcuffed. Pow! Vitko lunged forward, mimicking the headbutt and slapping the top of his head slapping the top of his head to make the impact. Other lady will never do that again. The slapper will never do that again. Freya's cheeks burned. Mm-hmm. This is a lesson in Krav Maga. Use whatever is at hand, even when you have no hands. Other lesson. Most important weapon is your voice. Call for help. Scream and shout. Do not go quietly into that good night, sir. Weapon number 2. Run away. Yeah, it's like broken English. Fucking sucks. I don't know why I made this garbage decision, but it's fucking awful. Yeah, I've got to fix every instance of his garbage, like broken English. You see? I can tell she will be a good one. No, it doesn't track right. She's good, I can tell. Already trying hard. Finnish people are very tough. The Winter War. Read about it. I talked with her mother. She's a lion. A woman slapped her while she was handcuffed. Pow! Vico lunged forward, mimicking the headbutt and clapping his hands to make the sound of the impact. The slapper will never do that again. Freya's cheeks burned with embarrassment, but Vico was too caught up in his story to notice. This is a lesson in Krav Maga. Use whatever is at hand, even when you have no hands. The other lesson. Another lesson. Your most important weapon is your voice. Your most important weapon is your voice. Call for help. Scream and shout. Do not go quietly into that good night, sir. Weapon number 2. Run away. You cannot hurt what you cannot catch. Getting hurt while running is a stubbed toe. Weapon number 2. Run away. You cannot hurt what you cannot catch. Freya, Dan, and Cameron nodded their heads. Okay, orientation is finished. Now you are ready for class. Whenever we do something, if we're doing push-ups, pull-ups, whatever, you do as much as you can do. Then do a little more. Do a little more every time, and soon you can do much more. This is the way to always getting stronger. As long as you are trying hard, you are one of us. Hands. Vico held out a hand with his palm down, and the boys put theirs on top of his. Freya hesitated, but she put her hand on top of all the others. The other students were arriving, and she was indeed the only girl. But she was surprised to find it wasn't a big deal, and it didn't feel awkward at all. Let's take that out. Maybe it does feel awkward. Bright and early, breakfast with Lodi. Oh, shout out to the fancy scientician. I am indeed, at the end of this chapter, I'm going to go get some more coffee and a croissant. And then let's try for 2 chapters. You know, it's Saturday morning. I don't have to fucking go to work. So just keep in mind, We're going to have a probably like 10-minute break in a few minutes. Because I think we're almost... Oh, we're not through with this chapter. There's more shit that we got to do. Okay, orientation is finished. Now you're a part of the class. Now you're ready for class. Whenever we do something, if we're doing push-ups, pull-ups, whatever, you do as much as you can do. Then, do a little more. Do a little more every time, and soon, you can do much more. This is the way to always getting stronger. As long as you're trying hard, you're one of us. Hands. Vico held out his hand with a palm. Vico held out his left hand with his palm down, and the boys put theirs over top of his. Oh, that was it. Okay, yeah, I found the ground loop. It is the... So the Mac power supply was feeding through the HDMI into the capture card, into like the PCI capture card, and feeding back. Yeah, why the fuck was that feeding back? Yeah, I don't know how, but so that was definitely that was causing the issue. What are we doing? Like, we got power on this motherfucker? Yeah, we'll try and operate without power here for a second there. Vico thrust out his left hand, palm down, and the boys... Vico thrust out his left hand, palm down, and the boys stacked theirs over his. Freya hesitated, but she put her hand on top of all the others. Freya put her hand on top of all the others. The other students were arriving. She was indeed the only girl. The class began with a lot of push-ups and stretching, but then they began a technique about being choked from behind. The technique was breaking the grip, trying to get the chin under their arm and getting out of it. Freya thought she might not have to do the drills since it was her first class, but Vico had given her a "what are you waiting for" look. Freya thought she might not have to do the drill since it was her first class, but Vico gave her a "what are you waiting for" look as she was standing around looking awkward. She did the drill with the only person close to her size, a boy named Tate, who was only a freshman. She had been worried the boys in the class would be careless and hurt her, but it was the opposite. Tate seemed afraid to do anything. She easily slipped out from under his hold. Oh, I like this scene. God. I'm so happy I got to write this story. There's just so much dumb shit that happens in this. Yeah, that's the thing about writing a novel, is you get to include all the stuff that you like, right? You only have to focus on the things that you enjoy telling a story. It's so just this is what I really wanted. Fucking love doing this. The class began with a lot of push-ups and stretching, but then they began a lesson about dealing with being choked from behind. The technique was breaking their grip, trying to get the chin under their arm and getting out of it. Freya thought she might not have to do the drill since it was her first class, but Vico shot her a disapproving look. She scrambled to find a partner and picked the only person close to her size, a boy named Tate, who was only a freshman. She had been worried the boys in the class would be careless and hurt her, but it was the opposite. Tate seemed afraid to do anything. She easily slipped out from under his hold. "No!" Vico called across the room, and he came over to join them. "Do not be bashful. She will not break. Chokehold is like this, here." Vico put her in the hold, not actually choking her, but the difference was enormous. His arm was like a steel band. There was no way she was getting out of it. For a moment, she felt like she was going to panic. Now, try to escape the way I showed you. Try to escape the way I showed, he demanded. And she turned her chin and grabbed the arm the way he'd instructed. Her head slid free. But you let me go. If you wanted, I couldn't get out of that, she protested. Yes. But this is trainly only. Yes, you are right. Yes, you're right. But this is trainly only. Yeah, maybe we'll just... We'll need to redo his... I'm just learning. Like, I'm not content with how this is out here. But we'll just try and limit his number of contractions, and then maybe we'll pull in somebody who speaks Polish, or like I'll listen to I'll just like make a Polish friend or something like that, so that I can see how their accent works into English. Because I think like one of the terrible mistakes you can make as a writer is when you're trying to write foreign accents and stuff, you make them all the same, like caveman kind of whatever. And different foreigners find different parts of English difficult, right? Like some people are going to find fucking conjugation difficult. Some people are just going to fuck up like their R's or their rolled L's or whatever the hell they're. It's very specific to their birth language, and like somebody who cares about the language will just be like, this just sounds fucking stupid. Let me see. So apparently in Chicago is like one of the biggest populations of Polish people, biggest population outside of Poland, but only dealt with the kids, and they spoke perfect English. Yeah, like, well, I'm pretty sure that I could come across a, see, I wish I was still fucking on the market for dating, because I would just start targeting Polish women, and then I would be able to, find out exactly what they sound like in bed. But not an option. But you let me go. If you wanted, Now, try to escape the way I showed, he demanded, and she turned her chin and grabbed the arm, the way he'd instructed. Her head slid free. But you let me go. If you were really grabbing me, there's no way I could get out, Freya protested. Yes, you were right, but this is training only. Not everyone who attacks you will be Vitko. You can feel leverage in the technique, yes? She nodded. Okay, now try with Tate. Tate, use your strength. This time Tate was actually trying, but again she was able to get free. It did actually work, at least on someone around her size. They reversed the positions, and despite his and she couldn't hold on to Tate either, as hard as she tried. Despite his small frame, he was actually quite strong. The class was just other drills and running out. The rest of the class was just other drill. After the technique were more exercises and more running around the gym. She was always a few seconds behind everyone else, but no one seemed to care. She had been dreading this all week, and it was actually fine. She was enjoying herself. The focus on the focus on physicality made it impossible to dwell on her thoughts. Okay, last drill, knife time, Vitko said with a grin. He started passing out orange rubber knives. She took one. It was heavier than she expected. The handle was weighted. Attacker, do this. He made a quick stabbing motion, and then he gave the knife to Dan Gregulus. You do to me. Dan grimaced, but he dutifully tried to stab Vitko with the rubber knife, and then too fast to see, he was on the floor sideways. This is defense. Okay, I show you again. This time slow. He instructed Dan, who seemed a little dazed by his sudden reorientation, but was still smiling. Dan seemed a little dazed by his sudden reorientation, but he was still smiling. Vitko showed the maneuver, which was sort of grabbing the stabbing wrist a certain way and turning the feet to throw the attacker off balance. It was more complicated than the other drills, and Freya was concentrating hard to get it straight. Okay, now try. Go slow first, Vitko said, and she turned with the rubber knife, ready to fake stab Tate. But instead of the defense, he took a step back, and suddenly, But instead of the defense, he took a step back, and everything went blurry. Are you okay? He asked. When she went to rub her eyes, she almost jabbed herself with the fake knife. She didn't understand what was happening. It took her a few seconds to realize she was crying. The harder she tried to stop, the worse it got, and finally she was weeping on the gym mat in front of the whole class. Ooh. 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 Good God Almighty. Okay, so let's run through that a little bit more. This time Tate was actually trying, but again she was able to get free. The technique did actually work, at least on someone around her size. They reversed the positions, and she couldn't hold on to Tate either, as hard as she tried. So in Illinois, kids get a day off school to celebrate Casimir Pulaski, a Polish general from the Revolutionary War. And then we got Kosciuszko Bridge over here, who I believe was also involved in the Revolutionary War to some extent. And Poles get good holidays. Yeah, and what are they? They're fucking... I just had pierogies for the first time. Not too long. First time in my life. I had them like less than a month ago, and they were pretty fucking dope. There's a spot near the archery practice spot where I got like potato and jalapeno pierogies, and they were fucking dope. That's what I like. This time, Tate was actually trying, but again, she was able to get free. The technique actually worked, at least on someone around her size. They reversed positions, and she couldn't hold on to Tate either. Despite his small frame, he was actually quite strong. After strangling practice were more exercises and more after choking practice came more exercises and more running around the gym. She was always a few seconds behind everyone else, but no one seemed to care. Let me see, Freya. She had been dreading this all week, and it was actually fine. She was enjoying herself. She was almost enjoying herself. Yeah. That's it. She was almost enjoying herself. All the focus on physicality made it impossible to dwell on her thoughts. Okay, last drill. Knife time. That's how I'm going to read it when I do the audiobook. Okay, last drill. Knife time, Vitko said with a grin. He started passing out orange rubber knives. She took one. It was heavier than she expected. The handle was weighted. Attacker, do this. He made a... Yeah, there we go. Vitko made a quick stabbing motion, then gave the knife to Dan Gregulus. Do to me. Do it to me. Dan grimaced, but he dutifully tried to stab Vitko with the rubber knife, and then too fast to see, he was on the floor sideways. This is the defense. Okay, I'll show you again. This time slow. Okay, I'll show you again. This time slow. Dan seemed a little dazed by his sudden reorientation. Okay, I will show you again. This time slow. Dan seemed a little dazed by his sudden reorientation, but he was still smiling. Vitko showed the maneuver, which is just sort of grabbing the stabbing wrist a certain way. Which was sort of grabbing the stabbing wrist, grabbing the stabbing wrist, grabbing and stabbing and grabbing and stabbing and grabbing and stabbing. Um, gra- 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 which was grabbing the stabbing wrist, which was grabbing the wrist with the knife and turning the feet to throw the attacker off balance. It was more complicated than the other drills, and Freyok was concentrating hard to get it straight. Okay, now try. Go slow first, Vitko said, and she turned with the rubber knife, ready to fake stab Tate. But instead of the defense, he took a step back, and everything went blurry. Are you okay? He asked, and when she went to rub her eyes, she almost jabbed herself with the fake knife. She didn't understand what was happening. It took her a few seconds to realize she was crying. The harder she tried to stop, the worse it got, and finally she was weeping on the gym mat in front of the entire class. Finally, she was weeping on the gym mat in front of the entire class, in front of the whole class. In front of the whole class. Okay, cool. So I like that right there. It highlights and then next is a Garbuglio chapter. All right, strap in. Okay. You see me fucking up there. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna have about 10 minutes. I'm just gonna let the fucking credits roll. I'm not gonna stop the stream or anything like that. So yeah, get yourself a coffee or a bagel or a muffin or nothing or whatever, and then meet us back here in 10 minutes hence. Penis pump. Guess who's back? Let me fucking shout out to this hat right here. Hell yeah. What? I'm not gonna edit in the fucking hat. What am I thinking? Ridiculous. All right, boys. What do you think? Do you have another chapter in us? Soon gonna find out right here. All right, how we doing right here? So, I love that on the editing stream, I can't even fucking spell coffee. Women hate that hat. Wow, I didn't realize how fucking faded that hat had gotten. I remember when it was like brand new. But yeah, that hat has seen some incredible time. I needed to get a new hat. I know for a fact that my girlfriend hates that fucking hat and doesn't want to be seen in public with me when I'm wearing it. Real talk. But that's how sometimes you just got to wear a fucking hat because you love it. You love it more than you love, like your relationships or whatever there. So yeah, how do you feel about that chapter about Freya breaking down in front of the whole class? Can you see what's happening there? Where she's just like, well, I guess we'll get into it in the next chapter here. But yeah, man, it's some twisted fucking shit happening right there. We still got 4 people watching the stream, even though I just fucking bailed and left y'all on your own to get a fucking croissant. Yeah, I got an almond croissant. I'd like to get a ham and cheese croissant, to tell you the truth. But in New York City, you're not allowed to sell ham and cheese croissants unless they're under like a heat lamp or whatever there. Otherwise, they'll get a health code violation for having like a ham and cheese together, which is, it's just obviously, the Hasidic lobby just taking over. Because they're like, well, if we can't have meat and cheese together, you can't either. This is fucking ridiculous. Nobody gets sick off of ham and cheese croissants. Ham is like nothing but salt. Cheese is nothing but salt. Nothing's fucking growing in there. But I don't know. Somebody got a bad fucking croissant and now we all have to suffer the consequences here. So we're all the way to chapter 15. So Impulse Filter says, damn, I want a ham and cheese croissant. I know, right? I want one that's like layers of ham and fucking golden and everything. Maybe like a crispy egg on there. Maybe like bechamel sauce or béarnaise or something like that. Like let's really go to fucking town. Big ass pile of ham. But instead I got an almond croissant. And it was a good almond croissant. I would rate it as the best croissant I had this week. Also the only croissant I think I had this week. Real talk. Although like somebody could easily prove me to be a liar if I talked about another one. Because like I guess I'm documenting everything I do every fucking day on here. Okay. So, Dr. Garbuglio began, and she glared at him. Imagine... Freya glared at him, imagining an arm reaching around his neck and choking him out. She was pretty sure he would not know to turn his chin toward the elbow, that he would black out with his eyes bulging and then insufferable... Hold on. It's warm in here, but it ain't out there. So, Dr. Garbuglio began. Freya glared at him. Freya was imagining an arm reaching around his neck and choking him out. She was pretty sure he wouldn't know to turn his chin toward... She was pretty sure he wouldn't know to turn his chin toward the elbow. He'd black out with his eyes bulging and that insufferable look wiped right off his face. So, let's take a look at this again. So, Dr. Garbuglio began. Freya was imagining an arm. There we go. Let's indent. Freya was imagining an arm reaching around his neck and choking him from behind. Freya was imagining an arm reaching around his neck and choking him from behind. Freya was imagining an arm reaching around his neck and choking him out. She was pretty sure Dr. G would... She was pretty sure Dr. G would know to turn his chin towards the elbow. He'd black out with his eyes bulging and that insufferable look wiped right off his face. Your mother tells me there was a problem at your karate class. Krav Maga, she corrected. And he made a motion with his hand as if it was no importance. He waited for her to go on, and she stared back at him. So there was a problem at Krav Maga, he amended. Can you tell me what happened? Lassa didn't tell the instructor about Randall. So they were doing a drill with fake knives, and I started crying. It was fine. It stopped after a few minutes, and I went on with the class. One of the boys from grade... Lassa didn't tell the instructor about Randall. Your mother tells me you were upset when she picked you up. Of course I was upset. She was the one who made me take the class. She should have told Vitko. I looked stupid in front of everyone. What did she say when you told her you felt that way? What did she say when you told her how you felt? She said, I didn't think you would have a problem. Like it was my fault. Now I have to go back there and it'll be even more awkward. I'm the only girl in class and they all think I'm some snowflake. It'll be so much harder to make friends. Do you want to make friends in the class? Dr. Garboglio asked. She gave him a look. It was a weird question. I'd like to have the option. I didn't want to take this class in the first place. I didn't want to take this class in the first place. I wanted to... Freya halted. Freya halted, realizing she was about to say something stupid and tell the man who could put her in an asylum she wanted to get a gun. What did you want? Garboglio honed in on the equation. What did you want? Garboglio honed in on the evasion. He was very good at that. I just wanted to stay home, she said, realizing too late that this would give him another angle for attack. She saw him consider it, but he didn't press the point and chide her for hiding in her room the way Lassa would have. Instead, he just nodded. Other than that, how did you like the class? I don't want to go back, she said. Because of what happened? No. It's stupid in the first place. How so? I weigh 95 pounds. I'm literally half the size of some of the boys in class. I could study every day for the rest of my life, and any of those guys could still beat me up. You're probably right, Dr. Garboglio said, surprising her. Does your mother know you feel this way? It wouldn't matter. She would still make me go. Dr. Garboglio nodded in agreement. Let's talk about that and assume you're right in both cases. No, let's talk about that and assume you're right in both cases. Assume you have to go to this class. What's the best case scenario? I take the class and I don't get injured? Eventually I don't have to go anymore? Is that really the best possible outcome? He pressed, giving her a doubtful look. I guess I could get in better shape. There's a lot of running and push-ups. I didn't mind that. What about the people in the class? You said it would be harder to make friends. What about the people in the class? You said it would be harder to make friends now. Were there people that you wanted to make friends with there? What about the people in the class? You said it would be harder to make friends now. Were there any people in the class you would like to be friends with? Well, it's the youth class, so everyone goes to Grayson. One of the guys there was in drama last year. He played Joe Summers in the lottery. He's a good actor when he isn't being a clown. What's his name? Dan Gregulus, she said, immediately wishing she hadn't mentioned him. Did you talk with Dan? No, of course not. We all just ran laps together at the start of the class before everybody showed up. Why do you say of course not? Because he's a senior and he's on the track team? He probably doesn't even remember my name. Oh, I see. So you're not allowed to talk to him. She rolled her eyes at Dr. Garboglio, but he only inclined his head, indicating he was still waiting for an answer. Just generally, seniors don't really talk to sophomores. He's like thinking about graduating, applying for colleges. All of his friends were track people and other seniors. Well, it's been a while, but when I was a senior in high school, I didn't have a problem talking with sophomores, especially girls. I suspect that hasn't changed. Her cheeks got hot with embarrassment at the implication. She didn't want to talk about this at all with Dr. Garboglio. Especially not with Garboglio. I mean, I don't really care if I talk with him or not. He's just the person there who I recognized. When entering a new social group, that's what people do. They start with the people they recognize and they branch out from there. Let's think about best case scenarios again. Even if you and Dan have little in common, Dan has been taking this class for a while, correct? Yes. Well, consider Dan to be the door through which you can get to know the other people in the class better. Try and talk with him. And if he is in fact unwilling to talk with a lowly sophomore, you can just disregard him and find someone more open-minded. If you have to be there anyway, you might as well try to make friends. That's all ruined, though, Freya said, feeling a tug in her chest. Why is it ruined? I cried in front of everybody. I made a fool of myself. Okay, I'd like you to try something. Think about your own friends. Have they ever cried in front of you? That's different. We already knew each other for a long time before that. Did you stop being their friends when they cried and displayed vulnerability to you? No, of course not. It made us better friends. Why is that? Because they trusted me enough to cry in front of me, Freya said. The memory of Betty's face before she moved away was pushing to the forefront of her attention, her eyes all puffy and a wet line running down from her nose. Her eyes were all puffy, and her wet line ran down from her nose. If only Betty were still here. This would all be so much easier. Well, you've done the same thing in front of the class. I think you'll find that they're more sympathetic than you think. A lot of them will think you're very tough if you go back to the class and keep trying. Many of them may even make an extra effort to be your friend because they know you went through something terrible. I don't want people to be my friend because they feel sorry for me, Freya replied, bitter at the thought. You can think of it as people feeling sorry for you, or you can think of it as people showing empathy for something that happened that was beyond your control and is not your fault. Some of them may have suffered loss too. They may have experienced some parts of what you're going through. If you don't try, you'll never get to find out. Freya took a deep breath. Annoying as he was, Dr. Garboglio was probably right. She was starting to understand why he was a therapist. He had changed his approach radically this session. She wondered how long he'd spent reviewing the tapes and thinking up a new game plan. Okay, time is almost up. I would like for you to have this, Dr. Garboglio said. He got up and got a copy of The Fragile Phoenix from his bookshelf and gave it to her. You don't have to read this if you don't want to, but I would like for you to have it. If you choose to read it, you can accelerate the course of therapy. You'll have a better idea of what my method is, and if there are things you don't agree with, we can talk about them and save time. Okay, thank you, Freya said, accepting the book. What is... Okay, cool. Is that a way that she would think? You don't have to read this if you don't want to, but I would like for you to have it. If you choose to read it, you can accelerate the course of therapy. You'll have a better idea of what my method is, and if there are things you don't agree with, we can talk about them and save time. Okay, thank you, Freya said, accepting the book. There was no way she would read it, but it didn't hurt to be gracious. Good luck with the class, Dr. Garboglio offered, and she went through the door to the hallway with the blue leather volume in her hand. She thought about throwing it in the trash bin outside of the office like she had the Song of Sword, but that seemed childish. Besides, Lassa wasn't there to pick her up. She began to thumb through the book while she waited. Okay, so what's this note here? Foreshadow Mathis and earlier guitar scene. Yep, I did all that stuff. Cool. I like finding notes where I've already done the work. Okay, so yeah, anybody who has been through therapy, who's still listening to this, does this track to you? Does this sound kind of like a therapist might talk? I feel like this chapter, Garboglio seems more therapist-y than the first chapter. I like the idea of him deciding to go with a different angle of attack to try and do the therapy with Freya. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this overall. I think there's some good choices that have been made here. But let me see. So Stratum says, I have been given a book and a CD by a therapist. Okay, good. So I figured that that would be pretty decent. I'm more interested in like some of the language that he's using here. Um, yeah, I like the way that this chapter went. Let's good luck with the class, Dr. Garbuglio offered. And she went through the door into the hallway with the blue letter volume in her hand. She thought about throwing it in the trash bin outside the office like she had with the Song of Sword, but that seemed childish. Besides, Lasso was late. The BMW wasn't in the parking lot. An hour later, she gave up and called a cab. Ooh, great fucking change. Ah. Okay, I really like that. So this is chapter 16, playing better. Let me think. Do we want to try and do another chapter? Let me see how long this is. 1, 2, 3. Oh, just 3 pages? We're fucking doing this. Yeah, we'll get this 3-pager out of the way. Chapter 16, playing better. Mr. Mathis says you've been playing better, Lassa said. Okay, so actually important here is the time frame. So all right, this has to be Wednesday, right? So if this is November 9th, right? Did we decide what day? Okay, so this is actually the locus to fix the time frame. So Mr. Mathis comes on. So this has to be. This has to be a Wednesday. So this is where we should focus. This is the first concrete date. It has to be at a day because she can't have this class another day. So okay, so we're gonna go back. We'll set it as 2029. Okay, so Stratum says it depends. All therapists and psychiatrists are different. You need to go to 4 to 5 different ones before that you find the one that matches you. Some are more combative than others, pushing you in ways that suck. Okay, cool. So like she's definitely stuck with this one. I'm not writing in 4 or 5 other psychiatrists. So yeah, I just don't want his dialogue with her to just stick out to people as a like this is bullshit. Okay. So for our next session, we're not going to do it now because I want to get those 3 pages done. For our next session, we know that chapter 14 is the focal point for fixing the dates. Let's hammer down that this is 2029. And so we're going to pick a Wednesday. And then we'll fix the rest of the dates. Okay, so that's something I may do off stream because it's just like a lot of making things work. So that has to be a Wednesday. And then we don't know what day chapter number 16 starts on, but it's going to be the next week, like probably a Monday of the next week. Okay, so okay, on re-edit, fixed time. Cool. Mr. Mathis says you've been playing better, Lassa said. Okay. Freya had a moment of disbelief, as if Lassa had just said the Earth was about to crash into the sun. They were actually driving to Grayson. There was very little danger of crashing into anything. Lassa was one of those drivers who never took her eyes off the road. No way, Freya said. Ezekiel Miracle Mathis had played Spanish and blues guitar for longer than Lassa had been alive. And the whole time Freya had been taking lessons, two things had never happened. He had never given her any compliment on her playing, except, "That's right," and he had never smiled. She remembered asking Randall why once, expecting some terrible tragedy had befallen him, but Randall had laughed, and he told her that Mr. Mathis had staked a month of lessons against $500 in a game of 9-ball, and Randall had sunk the 9 on break. He said Mr. Mathis had never been able to get the sour taste out of his mouth. He said old Miracle had never been able to get the sour taste out of his mouth. Mr. Mathis had long since made his 500 back. Freya had been taking lessons with Mr. Mathis for 6 years. Freya had been taking lessons with him for 6 years. For everything he lacked in charisma, he was an incredible musician and teacher. He regarded clean fundamentals with the same life and death importance as a heart surgeon regarded clean instruments. He hadn't softened a bit. The first lesson she'd taken after Randall's death, he told her if she wasn't going to bother practicing, he wasn't going to bother coming. Playing better. It wasn't much of a compliment, but it was definitely true. She had been practicing more seriously, even though she was busy 2 nights a week now with therapy and Krav Maga. Dr. Garbuglio had been mostly right about the class. Breaking down hadn't made her an outsider. It had drawn her in. Vitko had offered to let her step out during any knife drills, but she had said she just wanted to tough it out, and she didn't cry the next time. She tried very hard in the drills, trying to prove herself. She worked very hard in the drills, trying to prove herself. When the boys groaned at the prospect of running laps, she kept quiet. She couldn't afford to complain like they did. When she was really giving it her all, sometimes Vitko would give her a slight raise of his chin, letting her know he hadn't missed it. It wasn't much, but it mattered. She was back at Grayson now, and the other Renanin students nodded to her. And the other Renanin students said hi to her in the halls, even the upperclassmen. But that was as far as it went. They only acknowledged her existence. She was still eating lunch alone in the corner of the cafeteria with her back to the wall, as alert as a gazelle at a watering hole. Freya had the feeling that if anyone tried to jump her again, she might have backup. But still, she found herself tense whenever she was alone. Again and again, she thought she saw Tammy in a crowd of faces, but it was always someone else. Tammy was still in ISS. Yeah, the International Space Station. Yeah, that's in-school suspension. 2029, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will be in her first year as president. Will she even be old enough in 2029? I guess it's just 35. She can maybe do that. I'd vote for her. Not because like she has good policies or anything like that, but just her rage. The Republicans. Oh my God. Like the anger that people have against Trump would be nothing compared to the anger against her. That's the end game of democracy, by the way. People just voting for whatever candidate makes the other side mad. Hell yeah. It's a trollocracy, baby. Tammy was still in school suspension. Unknown groups of people approaching her made her nervous, and she had flinchy thoughts that a fist was about to strike her out of nowhere. She kept having flinchy thoughts that a fist was about to strike her out of nowhere and knock out her teeth. She had a dumb desire. She had a dumb desire to wear the mouth guard while she was walking around, but it would make her look like a freak if anyone noticed. Dr. Garbuglio had smiled when she admitted that to him. He assured her that was all pretty normal after being attacked. He said it could help a little, but mostly, he said talking would help a little, but mostly it would just fade with time. Freya knew better. Things didn't fade. They sunk into you and they stayed there. Okay. Okay, comma. Freya had the feeling that if anyone tried to jump her again, she might have backup. Still, she found herself tense whenever she was alone. Again and again, she thought she saw Tammy in a crowd of faces, but it was always someone else. Tammy was still in in-school suspension. Unknown groups of people approaching her made her nervous. Freya kept having flinchy thoughts that a fist was about to strike her out of nowhere and knock out her teeth. She had a dumb desire to wear the... Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you for catching that, Aztec. Plus Aztec. Freya kept having flinchy thoughts that a fist was about to strike her out of nowhere and knock out her teeth. She had a dumb desire to wear the mouth guard while she was walking around, but it would make her look like a freak if anyone noticed. Dr. Garboglio had smiled when she admitted that to him. He assured her it was all pretty normal after being attacked. He said talking would help a little, but mostly it would just fade with time. Freya knew better. Things didn't fade. They sunk into you and stayed there. She stared out the window as the hills rolled away. The words hung in her head. Playing better. That was all she was really doing. Playing the role of someone who was better so they would leave her alone. She'd been to therapy 3 times now and it wasn't really helping. Oh, so 3 times. This puts her like deep into fucking November. So yeah, that puts her deep. That puts her almost to fucking Thanksgiving, which we need more time. Also, we don't want yeah, so there has to be at least one more session where he talks to her about this. She'd been to therapy 3 times now, so it would be 3 times at that point, so we can just delete that comment right there. She'd been to therapy 3 times now, and it wasn't helping. Nothing was really going to change. Graduation was almost 3 years away. There was no way she could make it. As long as she wasn't brave enough to leave or end it, she would remain a prisoner here, caught in this busy cage of going through the motions. She slipped her hand into her pocket and touched the star ball, drawing a deep breath and letting it out through her nose. Today, the microscope, she told herself. She said that every morning for almost 2 weeks, but it always seemed to slip her mind or seem like too much effort. But it was more than that. She knew when she got a closer look, it was going to turn out to just be an ordinary rock. Probably just a strange olivine formation, unusual, but totally natural. She wanted it to be something special. They pulled up to Grayson, and Lassa told her to have a good day, and she said the same back, even though neither of them would. Playing better. Perfect. Yeah, so the next chapter is going to be the first of the Fragile Phoenix chapters. So I'll tell you a little bit about these chapters. So the Fragile Phoenix is like this book of pop psychology written by Garboglio, and it's meant to just lend a very stark contrast to what Freya's actually experiencing. So we'll get into that tomorrow. For now, I want to thank everybody who tuned into there. Thank you for all of your edits. Some of them was really good. Like every edit that y'all suggested today made it into the story, with the exception of like one definite article thing where I had strong thoughts about it. But yeah, they're all big improvements on the story. So we started at 0 pages. Now we got 115 pages, and there are just 635 pages to go. So we're like, I don't know, getting towards like almost a 1/7 of the way there. Shit. We can probably make this. We can probably make this by March, especially with your help. So thank you all. And yeah, have a great day. And I hope that your weekend goes fantastic. Get y'all some trim or bussy or whatever it is that grinds your gears. Let's fucking make it happen.